And I'm assuming Tamika will be here in a moment. So I want to welcome everyone to our first Fully Shining Leaders Masterheart call, and I'm just super excited about gathering this group together. And today I really want everyone to put a name to a face and kind of share the big themes of the program. We're also going to do a ceremony and talk through the structure and make some decisions about how we want to work together. And then we'll have some time at the end of the call to kind of chat more and get to know each other. So I thought before we got started, it would be nice if I actually introduced each one of you. So I'm going to unmute you one by one and just give you a second to say your name and where you're based. And I'm going to challenge everyone to just say one sentence about what you offer or what your promise is, and then I will give you a longer introduction that you're welcome to fix anything I misspeak about you. But I thought that would be a great way to kind of give everyone an introduction, and then we'll really do the ceremony and we'll switch brains then to go ahead and talk through all the businessy things. So let's see. I'm going to actually start with Diamira since she was the first person on the call. Hey, love.
Hi there.
Hi. So
Hi.
have you got your
So,
technology situated?
yes, and I was rummaging around for my candle. Would you just, I'm introducing myself and giving one sentence of what I do. Is that what I was doing?
Yes. So your name and where you're based physically, and then just a one sentence about what you offer. I know some people have already gone through the tracking spreadsheet and read what everyone else does, so just more to make it click, and then I'm going to introduce a little more about you.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. Excited to be here. My name is Diamira Rose D'Agostino, and I am based physically, locally, in just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, so near the Shenandoah Mountains. And I help fairy souls who are awakening remember and embody a relationship, a grounded relationship with the realms of Gaia, the sacred realms of Gaia.
I love that. So Diamira is someone I met, I don't know, quite a few years ago through Wanderlust World, and she came into our mastermind. And what I've just loved about watching Diamira's journey is that she has been working to uncloak her fairy self. And when I first met her, I thought she was talking more about Tinkerbell fairies, and it's been an awesome educational process for me to realize she's really talking about very powerful, huge, earth-based beings. And so I'm super excited for her to be in this group because I want to experience more of that. And every time I just have a conversation with dear Mira, I walk away smiling. She has the most wonderful laugh, and she just carries I always think of Guinevere, and she has a very strong connection to Avalon and castles, and just she, it's almost like she's living in this other time, but she's also very grounded and present to what's going on in modern times. So I appreciate that part of her that's kind of bringing some ancient wisdom into modern worlds. And she also has really been following her heart and soul with her business. So I know Diamira, you've taken so many different programs and worked to implement them, and then felt this doesn't really fit me. And so I just really appreciate that she's constantly looking for that more soul-based, what feels right solution. And I think there's been some times when you've completely ditched things because it just wasn't working for you the way you wanted it to. So I know this year she has a trip to Avalon coming up. And did you already plan your second trip, or you're working on planning that?
I'm working on planning that. It's not
Yeah.
published yet.
Yeah. So she does usually some big retreats a year, and then you see a couple people privately, but you're really looking to amp up the retreat side of her business. And then her big project is working on a book that has been asking to come through her. So we're going to support her on that journey. And just to make connections, so Rita, Diamira lives really close to Rose, and this is the Diamira that, here, I'll unmute you.
I know, I've heard a lot about you,
Yes.
Diamira, from Rose, because I'm in contact with Rose a lot, and so it's nice to put a face and an energy to a name. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's so nice to see your face. I have heard so much about you from Rose over the last couple of years. So it's so nice to meet you virtually.
Great. Thank you.
And so Diamira, Linda also went on a few Teo trips with Rose, and they have that connection as well. So Rose is one of my dear friends and someone who assists me oftentimes when I teach, and Diamira and Rose have become good friends in Virginia. So that's kind of some of the interweaving webs here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mute up Diamira. And how about Renee? Let's have you unmuted.
Okay, hello. My name's Renee
Hello.
Dubner, and I'm based in Austin, Texas. And I help 45 plus year old women who are searching Catholics or recovering Catholics develop their relationship with Mother Mary so that they can have a more fun, fulfilled, and enjoyable life with a tribe of soul sisters. Yeah, did I hit all the points?
Yes.
Okay, great.
We worked a lot on that statement. So Renee, let's see. I think you started because you were in my Launch and Up Level Your Retreat Ready Business program, and she just had something inside of her saying like, oh, I want to have a little more support. So we ended up doing some private coaching together. And Renee has also just really come out of the closet in terms of embracing Mother Mary and embracing her niche, which has to do with those questioning and recovering Catholic women. And I've also just really admired your path, because I know there's been so many times you just question, like, is this crazy for me to go out in the world and say, hey, I work with Mother Mary? And I've personally experienced that with Renee. I had probably the most unusual avatar interview ever, because we ended up doing a guided shamanic journey, and I ended up talking to Mother Mary through Renee, and the whole time I'm crying and she's crying, and it was just a beautiful like channeling of messages. And I just really appreciate Renee being willing to say, this is really what I do. And so she's also in the process of relaunching her business. I know some of the beautiful art in the background is hers. She's an artist, and she's kind of had different online versions of herself out there. And we finally kind of that's funny, married together.
Yes.
Married the art and the
pun intended.
right, the art and the Mother Mary and the Catholic piece, and also the kind of women over 45 finding their passion and purpose in life.
Right.
Yeah, so
right.
that is my connection to Renee. And likewise, I feel like for all of you, I really invited people into the group who I really respect and admire, and who I'm curious just to have that experience of like your gifts and talents. And I think we'll have a really powerful Mother Mary healing with Renee in one of our upcoming learning labs. So we have to look forward to that. And Renee's big project this year is really to launch her first group program, where she wants to bring together some of her avatars and do that kind of beta test. And so we'll be looking forward to supporting you with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then I'm going to just kind of go around how you are in the circle for me. And Tamika says she will be here in a minute. She had a medical emergency in her family, so she's going to call in a minute. So, okay, so next up is Linda. And would you like to introduce yourself, and then I'll add to the introduction?
Sure. I'm Linda Fletcher, and I am in Michigan. I live on one of the Great Lakes here, so I live right by the water. And I help entrepreneurs and creatives confront feelings of failure so they can get clear of them and do the epic shit they really want to do.
Okay, I'm just going to type a little note back to Tamika. Okay. And Linda, let's see, we met, I think, 3 years ago, and I will always remember, Linda and I have a good laugh about this. I'll always remember the first time I saw Linda, because we were in the hotel at the pyramids on a retreat, and Linda had her hair very nicely blown out and her boots on. And I looked at her because for those of us who have gone to the pyramids, they're a very dusty, dirty place. And I thought, oh, wow, we're going to have some fun, because she was quite prepared to rock it. And so since then, I've just like watched her shed all these layers and really step into her power. And one of her taglines is to do epic shit. And I love how badass she can be. She has like this awesome heart, and we've been opening up that channel to her hands-on healing abilities and her intuitive abilities and feeling abilities. And she also like has this like hardcore side, and so I'm going to be calling on her with some of our structured support accountability pieces, because she's done a lot of accountability coaching and is great at just like digging a little deeper on why you may or may not have done what you said you were going to do. And she's also gone through the Masterheart process with me, because the first time I did this was in the pyramids, and we did it live and in person. So this is kind of a new format to do it. But I'm super excited to see what Linda does. She's also gone through a lot of different variations of avatar and niche. And I think she's finally nailed the direction which she wants to go in. And so now, yes, it's time to go for it. So I'm glad you're here.
Thanks. I'm glad.
Yeah. All right. And then I'm going to unmute Rita. Rita. So Rita and I have known each other since I was 24, and a long time, and well, a very long time. So why don't you introduce yourself, and then I will fill in some details.
Hi, Megzi.
Hi.
I'm marveling at your ability to multitask.
my millennial brain, or am I a millennial?
No,
Generation X, that's what I am.
that's right. That's right. We've always worshipped at the altar of Megan's, and that is not going to cease anytime soon. Well, I'm in beautiful Boulder, Colorado, and there's a range of mountains right out here that are called the Flatirons. Big, beautiful red stones jutting up from the earth. And I've lived here for about 3.5 years, from spending many years in Los Angeles. So I'm finding myself feeling really grounded here, and all kinds of new information coming through on new channels. And so one of my purposes and delights in being here is to see how this new creativity and this new inspiration is going to inform what I offer to the world. I'm a transformational coach and mentor. I was mentored by Don Miguel Ruiz and traveled and taught with him for many years. And so I come from the Toltec tradition, and yet I have created a mixed bag of the added many more tools so that I can assist people in deep inner self-discovery. And from that self-discovery and self-knowledge and self-awareness, then they can bring more success to their relationships, to their careers. I've worked with a lot of men and women in the entrepreneurial fields, as well as coaches and healers. I myself am an energy healer. And as you'll see, as we go through our time together, there are still many other many other things that I love to bring my creative energy to in my life. And now I'm just really happy to be starting this process with each of you.
So Rita and I go way back. She was actually my first teacher in the spiritual tradition. I was her apprentice for many years, and then we started co-teaching together. And we've had many different dancing relationships, from like mother-daughter-y energy to friends to mentors to all sorts of things. And we've crisscrossed our paths. We've kind of followed each other back and forth across the country. She lived in Marblehead with me
Was
for a
my
while.
idea, she drove me to Marblehead, Massachusetts from San Diego. And then it was my idea that we come to Colorado. So
which was brilliant. So yes.
I think that, yeah, our souls are just kind of entwined and enmeshed for this particular iteration.
Yes, and I'm very grateful, because Rita just has this amazing, her brilliance, I think, comes through in helping people to wake up to the truth of themselves, but also really getting in your body, being embodied, and doing emotional process work and breath work, and Many, many things. So I've often been her translator, and we've often tried to bring her down from the realms of just talking about the big picture consciousness and awakening and awareness, and have a grounded what the humans can relate to.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that. She's launching an online program, and she's going to do a beta live test very soon. And like all of us, we're like translating kind of our ideas of like how things are supposed to be into what really fits our unique gifts and talents. And so really,
May I share with them my new name for you?
oh sure, oh yes, and that will be a perfect transition to what's next.
My new name for Megan is She Who Holds My Toes to the Fire.
So yeah, we were laughing
In the
how
most stimulating, motivating, non-harmful way.
that's right. Yes. So as you can see, I feel like everyone here is in that similar place of just, feeling that call to put yourself out in the world in some bigger way. And you've all been in business, but are also kind of relaunching. Like I have this big image of having our bow and arrows, and we've been, like pointing right at that true north, and doing it in a way that just feels like really unique and right to us. And so that's going to be a big theme this year of not doing the cookie cutter approach, but really tuning into our own wisdom, and then having the support and resources of all of us to just figure out like strategically what different ways that might happen. And I just appreciate that each of you are just so open to like holding your own in terms of the inner work you've done and how much energy you've put into your business, but also being open to that reflection and open to how can you do business that's sustainable and unique and soul fulfilling. And so I I see that there's just this dance happening with like these two states of being. On one hand, we're like all confident and capable, and then on the other hand, we can also be hard on ourselves or go into a place of overwhelm or hide or not put ourselves first or do what's easy instead of what our soul is asking us for, or whatever it is for you, right? When you look in that sheet of when I ask people what their doubts were, there's a lot of common themes about starting, not finishing, or trying to manage energy. So we're going to be holding all of it, both of it, the and part of running a business that works with our lives. And I'm super excited to see what comes of this. I think I've um, already shared with all of you that this group is a beta test, and it's really my chance to prove my theory that if we follow our soul's purpose and we take that kind of consistent action and get some support and reflection, that you can really create that business and life that you love, and it's financially abundant, and it includes time for doing what you love beyond business. And I know, as I mentioned with some of you, that all of you have taken plenty of trainings and programs, and it's really implementation time. It's really trusting ourself time. And so the biggest thing I feel like we're offering each other this year is just that holding space, that to remind you of your purpose and your capacity and your vitality. And then we'll kind of collectively also drop into what kind of deep guidance comes through and support that with some of the strategy and skills. And so I shared in one of the emails about, I just have this image of all of us gathering around a fire, and that we're tending it together, and that we're standing in a circle holding space for each other, and when someone needs reflection or support, that they step in and and are vulnerable and open about here's what's going on, so that we can all support each other. And so we're really coming to this as those like masters that also benefit from reflection. And so for myself, I'm also challenging myself because I'm setting the direction with your input, and I will be the leader of the group, but also a participant. And it's going to be very personalized and customized for the 6 of us. Obviously, you're going to get in, you're going to get out what you put in. And I'm going to trust that you're all going to be your own advocate and just speak up for what you need so that we can grow and shift throughout the year. And so I want to welcome Tamika, and then we're going to transition into that fire imagery a little bit more. And so Tamika, I'm going to let you go back and listen to everyone else introducing themselves. And I just want to take a second to give you a chance to say your name and where you're physically located and kind of a sentence around what you do. And then I want to introduce you a little more to the group. And I also just want to check in and see how you're doing because it sounds like you were just at the hospital. So,
Yeah. Um, so I'm happy to be here. I'm Tamika Petrie. I physically, as of November, live in a small town called Carpers Cove in Texas. Um, this weekend happened to be in Los Angeles. So I host silent self-realization retreats for women of color, and I do inner wisdom guidance and coaching, and launching and do strategic business coaching as well. And I'm looking to take that to the next level.
yeah. And so when I met Tamika, she totally blew me away because she has a full-time job. And when I looked at her website, she was making cards, and I think you had selling beauty products, and she had all of her very like spiritual energy work things listed. And then she was also coaching people on like multi-year strategic planning for women of color entrepreneurs. And I'm like, how are you doing this? There's so many facets to this. And she was filling her retreats. And so we've been kind of working through how to weave all that together, and also her just really owning her brilliance. And I just love if you end up friending her on Facebook. She has these totally stunning regal photos of herself, and she just really puts out a message that particularly women of color respond to, and all of us can respond to. And I'm just super excited to see how you continue to weave everything together. And I know you have a goal of leaving your full-time job at some point so that you can be doing what you really love full-time. So we're going to support Tamika in that project this year. Yes, yes. Yeah, and she also lives with her mom and takes care of her mom. So sometimes she does get pulled to step in that way. So welcome, love.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So apologize for everyone for being late.
Totally okay. It's understandable. Okay. And so really the way I want us to introduce ourselves and get to know each other and start this year is by doing a ceremony. And I actually built a fire for us outside. And I found this to be very symbolic. I'm going to actually show you where I am physically. I know Vita's been here. I don't think anyone else has. But I moved to Colorado a couple of years ago, and I built my healing space to capture this mountain view here. And so my image is, let's see if I can figure out, there's the fire. It is burning in a very nurtured, like that ember way. And my image of creating that fire has to do with us all having like a physical image of us landing together and joining the circle and really claiming what we're creating this year. And so I wanted to give you that visual in case you haven't been here. And in the snow, I actually kind of beat out a little mandala path so that each of the directions has a little entryway to it. So no matter where you're coming from, you can find your way here as we do a little meditation dreaming. And so I'm going to ask each of you to get yourself situated so that you feel comfortable and your feet are on the ground and your back feels nice and supported. And when you have had a minute or two to wiggle around, to bring your body to a place of stillness. Just take a minute to find that breath, whether you've been active and busy or you felt a wave of excitement or nervousness about getting started. And for most of you, I've had our strategy conversations. And so I want you to really come present to today, January 20th, 2020. Really feeling that now version of you that both has all the resources from the past and has gathered some energy, created that anchor point in the future. And so I want you to envision yourself traveling to my fire pit outside of my healing space and office here on the western slope of Colorado. And that you're stepping into this circle and this sisterhood. You envision yourself standing there with your feet firmly planted in the ground, and that you're bringing all of you, all of your strengths and your gifts, your awareness, all of your vulnerabilities and doubts and questions, all of your abilities to tap into source, to your own wisdom, to however you connect with energy through fairies or dragons or Mother Mary or any other tradition. And I'd like you to picture I prepared the fire in a ceremonial way where I burnt an old sage bundle and offered some evergreens for new growth, put some copal and actually some tobacco Rita gave me. And so I'd like you to first make an offering to the fire energetically, that you're offering your intent, your heart's desire, that you're feeling this fire, this creation that we're working on together with whatever feeling, whatever image, maybe there's some words, that you're making this your own ceremony. What are you committing to for yourself for this year? And as you feed that fire, I'd like you to use that channel and pathway that we're opening to also feed it all your doubts, all your questions. Can I do this? Is it crazy? Can I pay for the group each month? Do I have what it takes? Will I ever stop hiding? Whatever those little tendrils of stories that still creep up from time to time, to give that to the fire, to just ask the fire to burn those old ways of being away. And that you're recognizing that, yes, you're doing this work yourself, but you now have this intentful center and this intentful fire that we're creating together to come back to. That anytime throughout the year that you want to offer it more joy or more purpose or more fully shiningness, or offer it any of those frustrations or confusion or overwhelm or fear, that you can picture yourself coming right outside my healing space and adding to the fire, that the fire welcomes all of it. And so to be fully shining, that means that we are saying yes to being fearless and daring and bold and direct and honest and passionate and truthful and unique. And we're also saying yes to getting messy and creative and accepting just how we are. And we're remembering we can raise our hand and ask for help. And that those little beliefs don't have to stop our forward momentum. And I'd like you to just envision that you're looking around this circle at each one of our faces and just perceiving the presence and the power that each of you bring to this circle. I really acknowledge and honor each of you for your mastery and for that presence and that light that I see within you. I'd like you to just drop into feeling that containment and that space holding of, wow, I don't need to tend the fire of my business and life completely on my own. I have this group, and that when one of us needs to go attend to something else in life, or we just need time to rest, that we know the other 5 of us are still here tending that fire. And so I just invite you to bring this fire into your heart, into your meditations. If there's any other guides or helpers or witnesses that you want to call to surround us this year, please invite them to be part of our circle. You can name them within yourself. Any energy, qualities, clarity, consistency, commitment, whatever energetic qualities you want to call into the circle. We want us to nurture that ember of the fire I created so that it starts to really shine to the point that it blazes. And then I'd finally like you to just picture anytime I've been around fire or working with fire, there's also that point when the energy dies down and you might just be staring in the fire, enjoying its warmth and heat. There's usually a little quiet and stillness that settles over myself or the group I'm with. And just take a moment or two to perceive that settling, that weaving of energy, that the fire is lit, sustained, going to carry us through the year. And so to close our ceremony and journey, I'd like you to just picture that this energy we've created is creating a vortex of energy that's radiating out from this land in Colorado, that it's filling this valley and expanding outward so that it reaches Rita on the Front Range, and it keeps traveling across the country. It's activating clients and helpful people and all sorts of supporters. It's touching Renee and Tamika in Texas, and it's radiating up to Michigan to Linda. It's traveling across the US to Virginia to Diamira. And then it's traveling in all directions, all over the planet, that we're continuing to support our own awakening and this awakening of humanity, that we're broadcasting this call to the people we're meant to serve so that they hear and know that we're ready and willing. And so in your own time, when you're ready, I'd like you to come back into your room and space and light your own candle so that you make a connection between your candle and the fire here in Colorado. And when you're done doing that, you just hold up your candle so that I can see it on the screen. Everyone else can see it so that I know you are present with us. Just got goosebumps on Linda. Held up her candle. Wow, I love Renee's candle. It's so bright. Yeah, Tamika, if you need to go grab a candle, feel free. And so I'm going to ask all of you to just keep on lighting this candle when you're meditating, when you're preparing for calls. We can each keep shining our light fully. Right. When Tamika comes back, we can all give her a little cheers with our light. So what I'd like to have everyone do is actually open up your chat on the Zoom call, which happens when you hover over the screen. There's a little box for the chat. And I want to start, there we go. I love how everyone's candle is so unique. Everyone hold up your candle one more time so Tamika can be part of the circle. Rita, what happened to your candle? There we go. All right, cheers. So I'm going to establish some agreements for the group, and I'd love for everyone just to type a little Y or yes in the chat box as I see each one, and if there's any ones that you don't feel like you want to agree to, we can talk about that. And so the first agreement is just this idea of having this sacred, safe sisterhood. And so when I run my moon lodges, we always say, dearest sister, what is said in the circle stays in the circle, that it's a safe and confidential space. So if you are agreeing to that, give me a little yes in the chat box or a little Y. Awesome. And that when we gather together, that we are going to commit to really that deep listening and that deep seeing, like seeing beyond even what the words are said. So we're really agreeing to speak when the messages come through us and that they're coming from that place of love and support and kindness. So it's not about speaking just to hear yourself speak, which I know that is not anyone's tendencies here, but we're really doing it from that place of, oh, you know what, my sister needs to really hear this message. So give me a little yes on that one. Excellent. And that as we're listening to everyone's reflection, that we are tuning in to see is what's reflected right for you so that you really remain true and trusting of yourselves. So there's that balance between being open to reflection and feedback, but also knowing we have our blind spots. So to check in when someone gives you that feedback, like, is this true for me? If not, throw it out. If I'm having a reaction, that's probably something to look at, and that you're going to be open-hearted, open-minded. So we take in what feels right and we let go of what doesn't. So seeing lots of yeses. Awesome. I think I already mentioned this. We're going to speak up for what we need, and that we're holding the space for all is welcome. Celebrations, crying, frustration, lack of clarity, breakthroughs, laughter, like all of it. Because we know that on this path, like the reason I thought that fire I created was so symbolic is it's obviously not easy to create a fire when your fire pit is covered in snow. And so, it took a little digging to clear the snow and scrape off the stones and keep feeding the fire. And I just have that sense of, yeah, we're going to be going through the challenging moments together and also the really joyful ones together. And as I've also shared with everyone, that we're going to have flexibility. So this is a beta test. It is customized. If you have a suggestion about how to make it better or something's just not working for you, please speak up. You can always call me, email me, text me, let me know. So everyone good with all those agreements? Awesome. Okay. And so I want to touch on a few themes that have kind of bubbled up both for myself and as I've been talking to each one of you. And at the beginning of this year, I was doing a ceremony for kind of building energy for the year, and I pulled 2 cards. And the first one, I asked, like, what is the energy for myself I most needed? And I pulled Hawthor, which is the card for pleasure. And then I asked, what's the energy for my business? And I pulled the Badger, which is kind of the badass, goal setting, don't stop no matter what energy. And I just like literally laughed at that because there's like these 2 kind of different states of being, right? For me, around pleasure, self-care, really tuning into myself of like, how do I need to let go and relax and trust and experience pleasure? And then on the other hand, how do I coined this phrase. Someone asked me, is this a Colorado phrase? I said, no, I think I made this up. Just how do you badger up? Like, how do you like not let yourself be so messy or so fallen apart or so frustrated or so overwhelmed or so whatever that you don't like pick yourself back up and just get started again? And so we're going to be really playing with this idea a lot, that as human beings, we can hold multiple states of being. We can be fully shining and do what needs to get done. And we can also say, hey, we're in a cycle where the kindest thing I could do for myself is go to the hot springs or play with my grandkids or take a day off. And that we're going to be really clear and ruthless with ourselves about when are the times when that's a cop out and when are the times when that's like the greatest thing we could possibly do. And so I know as we kind of traverse through this year, I'm going to challenge and nudge and support and hold space that life is going to pull us in different ways, and we still can take a small step. We can still show up in some way. And so we just need to be starting here now. And I know for all of us, there's that big picture vision of like where you want to get to. And then there's also kind of the reality of like how many clients and how many email list names and how much is put in place in your business. And I cannot stress enough like how important it is to like look at what are those practical and doable steps. And I know as an achiever and someone who's like overcoming that tendency, a lot of times I have like such big huge goals that I get frustrated, and I've been really struck in the last year of like, oh, when I take those tiny steps every day, I actually go so much farther than I thought. But if I don't start where I am right now, then I end up um, I don't get that flow going. And so, this group is a great example of it. It's like 6 people. Perfect, right? And that's what I want each of you to do, is to just break that cookie cutter image of like, this is what I think it has to look like because I heard some online guru, or this is the way online programs work, or this is whatever, versus like what's true for you. And so, like Diamir and I in our call had a talk around, she wants to do what she's calling Avalon open houses. So for her retreat to Avalon, she wants to be able to have a way for people to like almost come like an open house, but it's virtual. And she's really excited about that. And I'm like, great, that could be a lead generation tool for you as well. Right? We can be creative about having more experiential lead generation, or it's something you're really excited about. It's not just that PDF. Or when I was talking with Rita, she was talking about, oh, she wants to create this online program and film videos of herself. And I said, Rita, you're so great when you're live and there's like a real human being in front of you. Why aren't we doing that beta test where you get to show up and just do it live? And you're not having to like wait this whole time to film videos. So we want to really look at that of when are we having some image of what it's supposed to look like holding us up, and instead doing what is doable now, what's practical now. And how can we multi-purpose? Like what are the tasks that we can do that will actually achieve more than one thing at one time? So it might be you want to, launch a retreat, but to do that you need to build your list. So let's like start just with getting that first client, right? So we want to kind of prioritize and order what we're doing. And so I'm really curious about this idea of personal marketing, which, in the online world right now, the big thing is, run Facebook ads and get 10,000 people in your bucket so you can make a 1.8% conversion rate. But what about doing more personal marketing where, wow, like one human being can be a really great client, and making that connection in that relationship, or 6 people could be the perfect size group, and really reaching out to people and being bolder about making those personal invitations can be a way to just get energy flowing and money coming in and clients going. And so when I look at that, for this group, I think I invited about 12 people to start, and a couple of you signed up, and I invited another 12 people. And then I think I did send out maybe 3 emails to my list, but it wasn't even so much to try to have someone come from the email. It was just like for me to keep taking action and keep putting the energy out there. So when you look at that, that's like a 30% conversion rate, right? And that's like most people who are doing the kind of big online marketing would have an orgasm over having that kind of conversion rate. So it's just, we're experimenting with like these different new ways of doing business. And throughout the year, I'll be kind of sharing more thoughts and tools about how we might do this, and just explore different themes that start with that kind of inner work. Is my energy and mindset aligned with what I want to do? And then like, let's pick a strategy that really works for you personally. And then let's see what kind of skills you might need to support that. So any comments or questions about what I said so far? If you want to unmute yourself, let me know. Since we have a nice small group, you can just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Good. I can't tell if people are typing. Some people have. All right. Thanks, Divya. Okay, Tamika's saying it's all sounds good. Awesome. All right. So why don't we transition into talking about the structure of the program? And when I sent you that reminder email this morning, I shared this link with you, which is going to be our homepage of the program. And the password is going to be iShineFully 2020 with all lowercase. And so how about we have everyone just open up that link. And I'm going to share my screen if you want to look that way, but there's going to be some links in it that you might want to use as we go. Let me get into the program and then I'll share it with everybody. Give me a second since I'm also on Zoom. All right, here we go. All right. Okay, so I've created this as our homepage, and I've put kind of all the links that you might need to refer to on here. And I just want to kind of walk through each part of the program so everyone's on the same page. And so all of you know we have this tracking spreadsheet, which we are going to use both to get to know each other. And so I have like a place just to record what it is that you're working on and your big picture intent. And we discovered as we were doing the spreadsheet that it has a little interesting quirk to it, that if you're typing and you leave your cursor on a box, so especially if you're typing and you hit return, it will actually drop your cursor down to the person below you, and then that person can actually answer the question. So if everyone can kind of make a habit when you're done with the spreadsheet, just click on your name again so that you're kind of clearing the space for everyone else to reply. And so you can see there's this get to know you tab, and then the second tab is for our weekly calls, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But this is where each week we're going to actually write down what it is that our next right step is. And so we have worked on milestones, like what are you really focusing on? What's like the project you're working on right now that will get you to the bigger fully shining goals that you want to do this year? And Tamika, if you and I can schedule a call together, we're going to like refine what it is you said and get that on here too. And so for this week, obviously you're going to pick one goal to do until we have our first structured support call. And so what I'm asking of you when you come on these weekly calls is that you've actually spent 5-10 minutes before the call to get clear on what is it that you want to be focusing on from the call we're on to the next call, and did you complete what it was? So I've kind of created this little cheat sheet down here that when you come to the call, you can, if you need help preparing, there's a set your intentions meditation that I created. It's about a 10-minute meditation if you want some support creating what it is that you're going to work on that way. Or you can do your own planning process. But really, if we want to get to where we're going with these weekly calls, you do need to take a few minutes to plan. And so each time we get on a call, we're just going to answer 3 questions. Like, 1, did you complete your next right step from last week? Yes or no? And then if not, just in 10 words or less, what's your first hit on like why that didn't happen? Was it a mindset thing? Was it you didn't have a piece of information? Did you come up against something that's really holding you back? And also, if yes, in 10 words or less, what did you learn? What do you now have available to you? What are you now able to do? And then number 3, what is your new next right step? Or are you, if you didn't get it done, are you editing what you said you were going to do, or are you going to roll it into the next week? And so I'd like you to come to the call having those 3 pieces done. And for me with these calls, the idea is that you are saying yes to showing up, and this isn't about judgment of like, did I do it or not do it? It's just a way to hold yourself a little more accountable, and for us as a group to say, that's interesting, you've like rolled the same task 3 weeks in a row, like what's going on there? And so we're going to have kind of different pieces to different calls, and on these weekly calls, my intent is like, it's like lightning round, like we're going to be popcorning. It's like you come on the call, we're going to do a little 2-minute attunement just to gather energy and drop in, and then we're just going to go around the circle and answer these 3 questions. And once everyone's had their chance, then we'll open it up to office hours, which is the time when I can help coach you through why did it get done or why didn't it get done. Also, you'll have that chance to, if you need help on like what is that next right step for me, I'm happy to help you with that. If you have a question around whatever project you're working on, you want some business coaching, we can do that then. If you want more mindset inner work, we can look at that. And so as soon as we'll talk in a minute about how we're setting up the call date and time, but as soon as we start doing these calls weekly, we're going to, I would like everyone to really be committed about coming on the call for the first 30 minutes when we're going to do the structured support part. And then for the office hours, you stay on if you want to stay on. If you don't have a question or you don't need help that week, you just hop off. And so I'd love for everyone to block their calendars for that hour and a half. And that will also give us the freedom if we ever need to do a Masterheart, that we can have that time. And so if you don't want to stay on the call and you're ready to go off, just use the time to work or move on to your next project. And so just checking in, any questions around the weekly structured support call? Everyone good on that? Okay. Okay, so then next, move this down. Next piece of this is there's the link for the meditation if you want to use that to help you prepare for the call. These are the two links to do the doodle poll, which I'll talk about in a minute, of how we're figuring out the day and time. And then I'll add in the Zoom call link once the dates are set. We're going to just use the same link for every single week, so you can just keep it in notes or keep it in a bookmark place. And we'll use that same, I'm pretty sure I can use the same call link for all of our monthly calls too. I'll just have to see how that works in Zoom to have both weekly and monthly calls if it works on one link. And then if you need a link to my calendar, that's right here. And so I just kind of recapped having the structured support and the office calls. And so what I'd love for everyone to do right now is actually to take this doodle poll. And what that is you're gonna have to pull up this link on your own computer. It's just asking you which out of the days that I've taken from like what everyone put in their spreadsheets works for you to be on the calls. So you just click off any days that do work for you, and you click send, and that will kind of register your response. If everyone can just take a second to go ahead and do that, that would be awesome. And I'm going to stop my screen share for 1 minute so I can put that link in the box in case anyone needs to get it through Zoom. So that's for the weekly one. I see Diamira and Renee got it done. Thank you. And then my next question for everyone just has to do with when you want to get started. So I know for some of you, you're just now saying, hey, this is when I'm available. So it may take like a week or so before your calendar can accommodate that regular day and time. And so I'm curious if you just want to type in the Zoom chat, like, could you start doing this next week? So once we've picked the day and time, it's on Tuesday. So like starting next Tuesday, does that work, which would be the 28th? Or would you need to wait until February 1st? So in the Zoom chat, just type in a 28 or a 4. So either January 28th or February 4th. Okay, Linda can start next week, Renee can, Dimir can. Mika can. Okay, is that everybody? Rita, does next week work for you? She's looking. All right, no worries. Oh, you have a question? Okay. I thought you were saying, wait a minute. I just unmuted you, but did you mute yourself? Nope. Okay, stop messing with my technology.
There, I did
There we
it.
go. Okay.
Okay, so my screen went wonky for a second, and so so the times on Tuesday, I'm going back to it now.
Okay. So we're looking, they're
Did
Eastern.
did we confirm the time on Tuesday? That's my question.
So right now everyone is voting in the doodle poll so that we can pick what the time is.
Right. Well, then I can't comment on if I'm available or not until I know the time.
Okay, so the time that everyone seems to agree on is Tuesdays from 1 to 2:30. Tamika, did you have a chance to answer? Because I don't see your response on there. So it might just take a second to register. You did. Okay. And did you check off 1 to 2:30 Eastern? I'm going to unmute you too. So is 1 to 2:30 Eastern?
I'm back on here and I'm not seeing my input, but I put Tuesday. Put Tuesday. I think I put I'm 1 to 2:30 Eastern.
Okay. So that sounds like the winning time. So we'll do Tuesdays from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And so next Tuesday, does that work for you, Rita?
I just translated. So that's 11?
Yes, so it's 11 here
No.
in Colorado.
No.
That doesn't work in general, or that doesn't work next week?
It doesn't work next week. It doesn't work next week. When I selected it as the best time, I selected it thinking it was Mountain Time. So actually, none of those work next week for me.
Okay, and in general, does it work?
If I know in advance, the earlier time works best.
Okay, so let's just do a little confirmation. So everyone in general can meet Tuesdays from 1 to 2:30 Eastern time, which in Colorado is 11, yep. Okay, so that will be our regular time. And then for next week, it sounds like everyone can meet during that time except for Rita. So Rita, are you okay if we start next week with the first call, or do you want us to wait to the 4th and just have everyone start together?
Let me just ask this. Since there were a vote of 4 for the later time on Tuesday, which is actually 1 here, could I re-vote and reconsider that the Tuesday 3 to 4:30 Eastern is actually always better for me?
Okay, and Tamika, does that work for you? 3 to 4:30 Eastern, because everyone else said that was okay. I'm going to unmute Tamika again. Oops, I think you muted yourself, Tamika.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
That's okay. So in general, does 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern work for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So we're all good then. So we're saying our final time is Tuesdays 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And then for next week, is everyone good with 3 to 4:30 p.m.? I got a thumbs up from Linda and Diamira and Renee and Tamika. Yay, we did it. All right, so starting next week, which is the 28th, and I'll send out an email just to confirm everybody. Awesome. I love working meetings. Okay, so we're gonna hop back into the page. I'm gonna mute you guys up again. Okay, so the next component of the program is our learning labs. And the learning labs are going to be a monthly meeting. So we're only meeting once a month. And on those calls, I'm going to share a theme, and one of you will present a topic that really just highlights your really deep gifts and skills. And the idea of this is both for us to get to know everyone better, and also that you can get some feedback, because it might be something like you're planning your signature talk, or you're doing a new process, or you want to do some kind of group healing. So you and I will agree on what the topic is, and then it will be kind of the floor for you to make your presentation. So you should be thinking around an hour. So we'll have a little time for me to kind of do a meditation and theme. You have an hour, and then you'll have some time for feedback at the end of the call. And so we're doing a separate doodle poll on this day and time. This is only one time a month. So the way this will work is, once we pick our day and time, I will go back and just look at the calendar and kind of pick which, Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it ends up being for the month. And so this doodle poll is here, and it's the monthly one. And so we're looking at, in general, which times once a month would work for you. If everyone wants to click, I see Diamira and Linda and Tamika have all got their answers in there. Rita, awesome. And then we'll get Renee. Just want to make sure everyone does have at least sometimes. And these are also in Eastern time, just to point that out to everybody. Okay. Renee, were you able to? Were you able to find some times that work? I just unmuted you, Renee. Were you able to get some times there?
I'm just
Okay.
looking at it right now.
Okay, no worries. Alrighty. And so I'm gonna actually follow up with like dates for that after the call, just because I'm gonna have to look at each month and pick out some times for that. Okay, go ahead, Tamika.
So when I clicked on the doodle thing, it looked like the same one where we selected times that we were available. I
Yeah.
didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh,
you said Wednesdays from 12 to 2 Eastern, or Thursdays from 11 to 1, or Thursdays from 1 to 3.
okay.
It looks very similar, except for if you read the title of it, it says Monthly Learning Lab, and then it has different days and times. So you good on your answers, or do you need to go back and?
I need to go back. I think I'm confused on them. So I'm gonna have to look at it again.
Okay, so the first one we did is what poll works for you weekly. So that would be the time where you're blocking off an hour and a half, and you're going to commit to coming on for a half hour and then stay on if you need help. And then this one is for when we're doing the learning labs, and it's just once a month for 2 hours. So you're just saying in general, like Wednesdays at 12 work, or Thursdays at whatever time work.
Okay.
So I think with doodle polls, you get a little email that says like, oh, you submitted your answer, and I think that you can go back in and edit it if you want.
All
Let me
right.
see. Yeah, if you go next to your name and you hover on your name, a little pencil comes up, and you can click on that, and that will allow you to change your answers.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, and I see Renee put some answers in. Okay, so any questions on doodle polling? We're good? Awesome. Okay, so with the learning labs, Renee has already agreed. Thank you for stepping in. The first one we do, I'm going to actually take us through the Masterheart process, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the next one will be Renee, and then we'll kind of just start slotting in people after that, depending if you want some time to kind of develop what you're sharing or whether you feel like you're good to go pretty soon. So the next piece of the program is the Masterheart. And I think all of you have kind of heard a little bit about what that means. And I want to give everyone the download. So the Masterheart is the process that came through when I was in the pyramids of Mexico. And I've been part of masterminds before, where you present an issue in your business or life that you're trying to make a decision, or there's a situation you just haven't been able to like get clarity on. And what I was always struck by is that I felt like the answers that, the ideas like to pool everyone's kind of minds together, they didn't seem to resonate with my soul. And there seemed to be a lot of like, I just want to give you the most brilliant strategic answer, as opposed to like tuning into internal guidance. And so I'll use that first learning lab to kind of teach us the process and walk us through the process. And the idea here is that if we have one of these deeper issues come up, and you're always welcome to schedule a one-on-one call with me for that, but if you want to bring it to the group and really get that holding space both for yourself to get an answer, but also to really have the group tune in to what messages might be coming through, what's your own intuition saying, and then also to have a piece around, okay, what logistical things might solve this. So I just often find that when we pose a question, that there's usually some underlying inner work foundational piece that needs to be sorted through before the actual presenting question can be answered, in terms of, I've had people ask things like, is it the right time to write my book? Like, what's stopping me from revealing to my family that I was sexually abused? Just any question that feels like there's a lot of components to it that you're having a hard time sorting it out for yourself. And so this is a place where I want to check in with everyone about Masterhearts, because I don't have a sense of like how often people in the group are going to want to use this. And so I feel like we have a few options. Like, we could meet instead of an office hours for that week and do it. We could alternate between doing a learning lab where someone's presenting and doing one during that time, a Masterheart, or we could try to come up with a separate time. And my inclination is probably around the learning lab times, that whenever someone needs one, we can substitute doing a Masterheart. And if someone needs one more quickly, we can do that during office hours for a week. So I just want to kind of get some feedback from each of you of like the timing piece of it. Like, do you want something that's on the schedule, like, in a month you can do your Masterheart? Or is it something you want to just be able to say like, oh, I really need this now, let's do it on office hours? Would you rather have a time that's like completely separate from either? I think I've shared with you that one of the pieces of this program is I want this to be like woven into what you'd already be doing in your business, and not having this feel like it's such like there's too many other time commitments. So Rita's saying learning lab time. If everyone wants to. Amira likes learning lab and office hours. Awesome. Any other opinions? Mika saying lab time, maybe. I'm open. Okay. Yeah, so from the feedback I'm getting, what I'm sensing, like, okay, Renee likes it into the scheduled times instead of another time. So my feeling is, I think what we'll do to start is we'll just alternate doing a presentation and then a presentation learning lab, and then we'll do a Masterheart learning lab. And if anyone says like, oh, I don't want to wait until the next Masterheart, then we can just do it during office hours one week. And I think once everyone like knows how to do it, we'll be able to do it in that amount of time. So I'm just curious, is there anyone who feels like they have something for the Masterheart now that they would want to bring to the Masterheart? And you and I can then talk about it offline. Because that first time that we do the learning lab, I'd love to like actually do a question with the group from somebody, because it'll be much more interesting and practical if we're doing the process as I'm teaching it to you than just talking about it. So, and if you don't have one now, we can also take some time to brew on it. But anyone feeling like they have some like bigger question or issue that they'd love to, don't be scared to say yes if it doesn't apply to you. I love that. Demir is saying, not in this moment, but I can feel that inner cauldron brewing. Okay. Linda's good. Renee's good. Not now. Okay. Let's see what Rita says. Almost here. Okay, so I'm guessing by the time we schedule, I'm guessing by the time we schedule the first Masterheart, it will be here for somebody, or maybe more than one of us. Awesome. Okay, and then the next component is having some private one-on-one time with me. And so most of you have had your first strategy call, and then going forward, if you feel like you really want some of that business coaching time, or you want to do a shamanic journey inner work time, or you feel like you have kind of deeper, hey, I need you to like look over my website or my freebie or whatever, then you each have an additional 3 hours of one-on-one session time, and my link is here. And it does kind of help me frame my mind around whether it can be a little bit of both, but if you just say like, oh, this is more a business coaching call, you'll see on my scheduler, it will say a business coaching call versus a shamanic session. And you can see here, business coach, oops, not the clarity call, sorry. Shamanic healing session with Megan, private clients only, 1 hour. Business coaching call with Megan, private clients only, 1 hour. And the reason why that helps me a little bit too is because when I do shamanic healing sessions, I usually have more of a buffer at the end, so I have a time to kind of reset before I hop back into business mind. So if you do know what way your appointment's leaning, you can just pick which one makes more sense for you. And then the last two things are really questions, again, that we want to just decide together. I kind of mentioned the possibility of we could do a Facebook group where it's not kind of like officially part of the program, meaning I'm not promising I'm going to check it or answer it each and every day. Some of you are used to Wonderlust world where we have a whole team of people answering questions, but I think it is a great way to connect to each other and just share information or resources and inspiration. And if you do have a question between calls, you know, most likely I will be in there and looking at it. So give me a little sense, like who's interested in a Facebook group? Give me a little yes or no in the chat. So Rita, is your no thank you around the Facebook group? Okay, so Rita's saying no. Tamika's open. It is open. Let's see what Diamira and Renee say. Okay, Diamira's not feeling super into Facebook. So I'm kind of feeling like most people are either ambivalent or a no. And so I would say, yeah, there's some pluses and minuses. So why don't we start out without a Facebook group? And if it's feeling like we do need some like channel to be able to talk to each other, we can revisit that. Okay, and then the last question is whether you're interested in having accountability partners, which means you would meet outside of the group times to support each other, and you and your partner would just determine when and how often you'd meet. I know in some programs people really love this because it's more of like a group online coaching program and it has that more personal connection. Obviously, when we're meeting for our weekly calls, it's going to be around that kind of gentle accountability piece. So give me a yay or a nay in terms of wanting to have an accountability partner that you can check in with in between calls, however you wish. Oh, Tamika hasn't had one before. Renee says, I'm not great about keeping up with them. Linda's calls are enough for me. Renee, okay, Rita's saying not this time. Let's see what Diamir says. Sounds like people are saying no to that. Dimir likes it in theory, but not sure in person. Okay, so let's also kind of put a pause on that. If during the year we want to switch it, we can, as I said, switch it. And so underneath all that kind of information, I know Rita has to go, this is where the replays of the calls will be stored. So we'll put the replay up here, and then each time we do a structured support office hours call or a learning lab call, it will go in here if you ever miss it. And then finally at the bottom, I realized that on my kind of registration page, I didn't have an official cancellation policy. So I put it here. And if anyone wants to talk to me, you're welcome. But I'm coming from the place of like fully believing in this program, and you've been invited in here as a committed heart-based entrepreneur, and you're investing in yourself and the group for a year. And so you're purchasing the program in full, and you have the options to pay the 12 pay. And I just believe in this so strongly that if at the end of the year you do not feel that I delivered on supporting you fully, and you can supply some credible reason to me that there hasn't been a change in yourself or your business or your life, then I am going to give you a full refund. And to be eligible, you have to have obviously shown up to the weekly calls and the monthly learning labs and the Masterhearts and used up your private one-on-one time. And so if something comes up and you really need some extra support or assistance, just please reach out to me, and we'll figure out a way to make it work. So is everyone good with my full refund policy? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And obviously everything in the program is copyrighted, and if you want to use it or share it in some other way other than your own use, then you just need to reach out to me and let me know. Okay, so I think that is all the kind of structured. Anyone have a question around the format and structure of the program? Stop my screen share if I can get. There we go. I can see your beautiful faces. So any questions? Give me a little no or shake a head, or if you do have a question, I can also just unmute you to make it easy. No? Okay. You think it's clear. Awesome. Okay. And so I just wanted to kind of open it up at the end, and I would love for each of you just to take a few minutes, like 2 minutes or so, sharing like what is your first big goal and your first milestone, so that everyone in the group has a sense of what you're working on. And if you haven't already, on that tracking sheet that you just put down, okay, what are you committing to do between now and next Tuesday? And you want to obviously make it a step that, a next right step that feels doable in the next week. And so I think I saw one or two of you do it before the call. I see Renee did. And so Renee, I'm curious if you're open to being the one I unmute first and kind of. All right. Oops, I can't hear you, but you are unmuted on my end, I think.
Good to go?
Yes.
Okay, great. I read in one of your emails to first clear 2019, so I need to do that.
Yep.
It was a year.
Yeah.
I need to just clear the decks.
Yep.
2019, and I'll just make that a special ritual. I look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I am going to do this week is create an outline of my first of my coaching circle.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of ideas of I want to put in this, and I want to offer this, and I want to add this, and just make a draft of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then set up an appointment with you so that we can talk one-on-one about that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, so Renee's big milestone is to create the description and the structure and the pricing of her group program. And so those sound like really great goals for this week. Excellent. So who else is ready to share? And if you need a moment like afterwards to actually type it in the spreadsheet, I totally understand that. So Rita and I, when we spoke on our strategy call, she is working on creating the content and advertising for her online program. And so she was going to go through the database to identify clients for her live launch. So she could start kind of pinpointing people who could be potential yeses. So I see Linda's typing. I'm going to type mine in. Oops. I don't know where I'm typing, but it's not the right place. Okay, so Linda, I'm going to unmute you. All right. I think you're muted on your end. There we go. So tell us a little bit about your milestone and then what your first commitment is.
So about a year ago, I pretty much blew up how I was doing business because I hated it. And then last year was miserable because I could not, okay, if I don't want that, then what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And in about November, finally, it started to come together. So I do have two things to offer now. And so I've been without a client for several months, and I'm a little bit bored with that whole thing financially and just, work-wise. So I have the two offers. I need to get like the messaging, like what am I saying about the offers?
Mm-hmm.
And then I've 2 or 3 options for the first kind of marketing effort, and I'm gonna pick one and I'm gonna do it.
Awesome. I love it. And it's not going to take 2 weeks.
Let's hope not.
Excellent. Okay. I think that sounds nice and clear. And so when you say getting the message together, are you talking about like actually writing it out, or do you just mean like in your head?
No, writing it out. So one of the options is private Facebook messages. So what does that message look like? Another option is to do some videos on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And what would that sound like? And I don't really write scripts because I get weird with scripts, but I need like an outline.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I joined your live launch that you're doing with Wanderlust to see that process and how that unfolds. And so then maybe I'll do something like that, and I'll need some outliney kind of messaging for that.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think I mentioned this to most of you, but if you haven't heard, through Wanderlust, we're doing a Launch Your Transformational and Profitable Retreat Challenge, which is January 27th through that, like that Friday, which I think is the 30th or 31st. And we're using a new method, which is called the live launch method, where you're not doing webinars or slideshows or anything. You're actually coming into the Facebook group each day, and it's much more like be present and interactive. And so if you do want to join that, that's like a great way just to like see a different way to launch. And I just have to put it with like you could do it much, much simpler than the way we're doing it at Wanderlust. So you could always just do it to get on a sales call with you. It doesn't have to be so many whistles and bells. Okay, so you are set. And then let's see, Tamika, I would love for you to schedule your first strategy call with me so we can even like get to the point of really pinpointing what you're doing and what you're working on. And let me just unmute you. And do you want to commit to anything else besides that, or do you want to have us like really come up with your kind of strategy for the year? Because what I'm finding is when people filled out that spreadsheet, it was like a great start, but then we really like refined it and clarified what it makes sense in order of priorities.
Yeah, we can probably refine it.
Okay. So did you want to add something to like what you're committing to, or do you want to have your commitment be that we schedule the call?
So we could schedule a call, but one of my most immediate priorities is to create the flow of the Sisters in Business table talks, because it leads into the strategy of my online course launch for next year.
Yep.
So
okay. So let's say both.
Schedule our one-on-one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you want to add that to the spreadsheet, that'd be awesome. And do you mind explaining what a table talk is? Because not everyone's kind of familiar with that languaging.
So for the table talks is a collective of women in business, and we would get together in intimate settings, face to face, and speak about strategies and goals, and more importantly, strategies for the next 2 to 3 or 5 years, and any challenges. And it's called Table Talks because I like sitting at round tables, or sitting on the floor around the coffee table, and just making it real relaxed but meaningful conversations. So that's what the Table Talks are.
Love it. That's another great example of like doing that more like personal, intimate kind of marketing. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you up, and then Diamira.
Yeah, so for next week, I have 3 little things towards my milestone. One is to create a vision board because I feel like I've done all the visioning. I just need to put that on paper and in a visual form. So that's number 1. Number 2 is develop a rough outline for a class for my Avalon Retreat open house series. So that'll do this week. And then I'm also committing to develop a very rough outline for my book this week.
Exciting. So Diamira's milestone is she's actually working on 2 at the same time. One is she's really working on a book within a series. So we kind of came up with the term. I'm sure publishers must have some official term for this, but we're like, she's gathering the seeds. So she's been going through journals and she's been writing, and so she's just trying to compile everything into one place so that she can get an outline for the whole series and kind of know what this book is focused on. And then she's also working on launching her retreat. So she's doing what she's calling the open house series. And so you'll kind of nail down outline. So it sounds like lots of outlining and just clarifying and like getting things on paper. So Renee's asking about where is Avalon?
Avalon, so the physical location of Avalon is Glastonbury in the UK. So it's just in this pretty much the southwest of England.
Mm-hmm. And you want to tell a little bit about like Avalon as like the mythical, historical, energetic kind of place?
Yeah. So Avalon was both more than a place, it was really an energetic, and it was connected to, for those of you who are familiar with the Arthurian legends or the whole mythic structure of the the Grail mysteries and all that sort of thing. And Avalon was the place that existed on the inner planes where the people, where humans would actually go to receive the teachings and trainings that were deeply in alignment with the fairy mysteries of that time. So they would go to the Isle of Avalon, if you would, and they would study in that mystery school, and then they would come out and express those mysteries in the world, in their kingdoms or whatever. And the Arthurian the Arthurian stories kind of outline that and tell that journey of that exchange of information during a time long, long ago.
Yeah, very cool. And there's some really great like fictional books that I really love that kind of give you a little bit of the taste of that. The Mists of Avalon, which a lot of people have heard of or read. Excellent. Okay, and then for myself, I've really been sitting with the piece of there's like my fully shining goals, and then there's a lot of things that just need to get done, and I'm realizing I'm really in a completion cycle just to build the foundation of like having a website, my website redone, and business structures and all that. So this week, and then I feel like fully shining, it makes me a little nervous about the idea of starting to do some more speaking gigs and like booking some things regionally or on podcasts. So this week I'm going to commit to creating a template for pitching speaking gigs so I can more easily just like plop in pitching. And I'm also working on some branding things and having a strategy meeting to kind of figure out business structure. So that is my plan for the week. So I'm excited to see everyone next Tuesday at 3 o'clock Eastern. And any other questions just to like tie it up at the end? Everyone good? Awesome. Well, we have actually burned all the wood in my fire except for one big log. So I love how it has started. And yeah, I'm just super excited for this year. It means a lot to me that each of you said yes. And I can't wait to see what happens just showing up weekly. That kind of makes my breath catch a little bit to make that kind of commitment. I'm sure it does for all of you too. and just finding that balance between the like badger up, show up, and take care of yourself, and those times you need to take a deep breath and let go. So we will ride those waves together. And as you know, I'm here for everyone. Please feel free to email me or message me on Facebook if you need me in between. And yeah, thank you, ladies. We'll see you in a week. Here's to fully shining and leading the world and launching big businesses. Here we go. All right. Yay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll talk to you very soon. Tamika, do you want to stay on for a second and I'll